Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and unicorns. Welcome to this very special Sunday stream. I'm having already problems with the word Sunday. Today I have a great one for you. This is 1.5 weeks of research. So this shows that what I'm about to tell you pretty much I think everyone can do. And first, of course, congratulations, Lady Mr. Leaf, again on winning the pop quiz. And also thank you all for remembering my very first Steam game that I released. I'm still very proud of this. And you've probably noticed in the question there was Power MT, also an option to choose, which is funny because when I authored the question, I didn't know that Power MT would one day become a Steam game by itself, and this is currently what I'm in the process of developing next to all the postmortems. So this is essentially why I thought I share my knowledge. Like I said, it's just 2 weeks of research that I'm ahead of you, and I hope I can make sure that if you ever want to get your HTML5 games onto Steam, what to avoid and what to look out for, and pretty much I just walk you through all the gotchas I thought today. So I got, as always, my healthy glass of water. So whenever I say the word unicorn, as demonstrated by my lovely assistants here, we all should have a healthy sip of water. And the other thing is, I completely forgot that I had some coffee made today. And this is, of course, my favorite horsey cup. The thing is, I made coffee today because, news alert, Austria is back in lockdown. Of course it is. So it's starting tomorrow. So this is why I went to Starbucks yesterday for the last time, and also the cafe wished everyone Merry Christmas because I'll be stuck at home. But the good thing is, this time I hope I get more work done being stuck at home and not spending 20 to 40 minutes just waiting in line to get to my coffee. Actually twice, and then of course commuting. It adds up. Right, what does the chat say? Oddly Specific Game says, this pandemic has no end in sight. It does not. I remember when we first joked, when Corona was around it, everyone said, yeah, haha, don't do TCP IP connections, only UDP because you can avoid handshakes. Haha, aren't we witty? And this is probably over in 1 or 2 months. It will probably be over by Christmas 2021, we said, in Christmas 2020, and here we are. So I think, frankly, this is going to haunt us every year. It's like the flu season. There will probably be a new strain of COVID out there. So yeah, I just urge you to get vaccinated, and I'm very much looking forward to my 3rd booster shot. Still haven't got the date. I already called the hotline and they said you will get a text and a letter in the mail, so I hope either one arrives. By the way, we also have a super fun situation with testing in the Salzburg, in the federal state that I'm in, where essentially you got some, what's it called, gurgling tests or so, where you just gurgle some fluid and spit it into a little vial, drop it off, and within 24 hours you get your result. At least that's on paper. Essentially, this result is valid for 72 hours. So the last time I tested was with this test was on Thursday. Still haven't got my result. Funny thing is, there is this web page. First of all, it has a waiting queue when you want to log in or just view the website. And the other thing is that it's so very Austrian, it has opening hours. So at night, the website, you can't access the website is closed, and when it's open, you have to queue up, and then it's still no guarantee that your test is finished. My God, this is so very Austrian in a sense. Bureaucracy for bureaucracy's sake, and nothing gets accomplished. Anyway, with that uplifting note, I thought we completely switch gears and talk about HTML5 games and how to get them onto Steam. Or even if you're not interested in Steam, you want just to package them up nicely for itch.io, this also should apply to you. Right, let me first catch up with the chat. We were so innocent. Yes, exactly. Still waiting for my booster. I don't know when Portugal will start giving them. Yeah, fingers crossed that everyone gets their booster soon and more people get vaccinated, and then this whole thing is over. Will it ever be over? Anyway, let's talk about the fun things. Let me switch over to this wonderful overlay. Yes, today essentially is going to be about getting your HTML5 games onto Steam. Like I said, it also is applicable if you just want to distribute an executable file on itch.io, which involves much less steps. And also a disclaimer, I don't know how much I can show or if I even get to the Steam pipe, the Steamworks, essentially what is going on the other end of Steam, not for players, but for developers. I'm not sure how much I can show of that because I think I'm the only one who essentially read through the entire agreement, and it says, yeah, I can't. Essentially, no one is allowed to show the behind the scenes works of Steam. I just think that I'm small enough to fly under the radar, and I'm not giving away trade secrets like when the next Steam sale is going to be. Anyway, with that being said, right, let me start with HTML5. For the uninitiated, I don't think there are a lot of you who are not in the know of what HTML5 is. Just a very quick summary. So web pages, current web pages essentially is the HTML5 standard. I think this has been around for 14 years already. So essentially HTML4 was when I started out with around the 2000s, and HTML5 has this new set where it decoupled display, like centering text, where you had this center tag, and how something looked versus how something is structured. So you define the looks by CSS, cascading style sheets, define how something is structured via plain HTML, and you define how the inner workings are via JavaScript. And I think the most important thing that HTML5 gave us is the big canvas system with JavaScript, where essentially can draw on a per pixel basis in your browser and have this run super fast with the V8. Was it V8 or V9? The JavaScript compiled engine that Google had. Oh, there was some stuff in the chat from Ender42. Leave it for the government to make usable service. Exactly. Austria is not alone. We have like 20% vaccinated. Quota of those are fake vaccines, get wasted because they don't live long out of storage, and behold, you don't get a booster shot yet. We have no to vaccinate more people. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, ranting. I think with the COVID situation, every one of us could start on a rant and never finish, right? Because there is just so much. So I just have this with a sip of water and just hope for everyone. And Joey Brink is here. Hello. Thank you so much for dropping by. How's your Lego spaceship coming along? I think you're doing the Discovery, right? The last time I checked, you already had this little thing already. I didn't quite get where you were. But it's cool that you finally finish all your Lego space ships. And then one day maybe you can launch them all into orbit and have just Lego blocks floating around orbit. This would actually be cool to have a working satellite out of Lego. Anyway, thank you so much for dropping by. And Oddly Specific Games has been using HTML5 canvas for basically all my games, right? I'm going off on my passion rant for HTML5. Essentially is, I recall when I'm one of those old people who say, yeah, I remember back on the Commodore 64. But stay with me on this one. With the Commodore 64, you could just switch it on, it would boot, and it would say ready, and you could type in a basic program, essentially. You didn't have to open a certain program, you didn't have to load something, you didn't have to stick in a cartridge, you just could go 10 input, what is your name, $20, print $, print hello $, and it would print out that name. So this was super accessible because it actually invited users just to toy around with programming and essentially make, you could make a simple text adventure or even a not so simple text adventure on a Commodore Basic just out of the box. And this is what I find so cool with HTML5 is all you need is a browser and a text editor. When you get your brand new Dell laptop, you just open it up with all the bloatware that's installed. Chances are there is a browser installed. Downside is it's probably some variant of Internet Explorer, which is not 100% playing along with all the other browser standards. But for the most part, you can just open up text editor, type some HTML, JavaScript, CSS there, and run it in the browser, and there you are. And this is what I find so cool, is that it's completely cross-platform. You can run web pages that look essentially the same on Windows, on Mac, on Linux, and just do the work once, because everything is super portable. And with the V8 just-in-time compilation of, was it Chromium? I think everything is relatively fast, unless you do stupid things, which we will get probably into later, of how I'm doing things not super optimized. But this is what I find so cool about HTML5, because you don't have to spend any money on engines or have to invest in Unity or Unreal. On the other hand, of course, if you want those kind of things but still don't want to spend money, look into Godot. People have told me wonderful tales of Godot, and that you should really look into those. So if you can, do that as well. And I think you can also export HTML5 from Godot or even from Construct. Anywho, HTML5 is super, and this is what we want to get on Steam. And when I say I want to get it on Steam, essentially what I mean is I want to create an executable file when we're on Windows. This thing that I'm doing today is I'm only talking about Windows, of how to get an executable file on Windows, but most of it should transfer cross-platform. So if you're on Linux or on Mac, there should be some things that, of course, I can't mention, or that there might be other gotchas. But for Windows, I mean, basically the things are the same, because in the end, you need a certain framework to run this HTML5 thing in. Because essentially what you want, or what I'm going to show you, is how to have a program that acts as a browser, and your game is a website in this browser, and you package browser and website as one file, which you can run like any executable file, and also upload to Steam and serve it to users, which on the user side of things would look like any other game that is out there. Right, I have to catch up again. And Rather Jolly is here. Thanks so much for dropping by. Enjoy Pring said, yes, we made quite a progress. You started your stream 1 minute after I finished mine. Otherwise, I would have read. Oh, thanks so much for I mean, it's the thought that counts, and I was 10 minutes late. But I hope you can finish finally with some more Lego space things, and please don't drop it this time. Lady Visliv says, I'm here but distracted at the moment. Lilo called me on her long drive. Oh, on her long drive. I thought it's like a thumbstick but super long, and you can call with it. So this is how cool people call the phone. It's just a very long drive. So that makes sense. And Rather Jolly said, so stoked for this. I've messed with this in the past, but never finished. Thank you again for the stream. I really hope that I get far enough and can share with you my joy and passion with this entire process. Right, so essentially we want to run this in some sort of browser. So what are the choices that we have? Essentially I found there are two choices which are open source or have a very lenient license. The first thing is Electron, and many apps are written with Electron, many desktop apps, which should run on different operating systems, but under the hood, essentially they are just JavaScript. And Electron is one of those. I think even Microsoft Teams is running on Electron. And this would have been my first choice, just because everyone's using Electron. But the one thing that I personally didn't like about Electron is that I had to use the get and apt package and something, and I thought, where is the zip file that I can download and extract on my desktop and then just mess around with it? And Electron didn't offer me this, but NW.js did. And I already want to apologize if I call this NV.js and not NW.js, because the W character in German is V, so V. So it's also I don't know how many times I say BMW instead of BMW, because W is such a weird. I mean, how many syllables are in W? It's 3. It's 2 more than necessary for just a simple letter like this. So I probably call this NW.js or just NV.js, which is completely wrong, but just so we're on the same page what I'm talking about. Okay, so what the frick is NW.js? What does this even stand for? And the first part, the N part, stands for Node.js. So this is another thing. If for the uninitiated, I'm still not quite sure what I would call Node.js. So please, if I say something that's utterly wrong, please correct me in the chat. As I understand it, it's a framework for JavaScript to run outside of the web browser. Essentially, it's like a virtual web server that can run JavaScript files. For example, the automated unicorn, the chatbot, is running from Node.js and communicating via WebSockets with the with the pop quiz, and also gets via Node.js the IRC from Twitch, and then listens to this. So there's a whole back and forth, all enabled through Node.js, which is super cool. And the other thing is WebKit. And WebKit is just a browser engine. It's essentially it's like Safari or Chrome without the bookmarks or even the file open dialog or anything. It's just something that can render web pages according to the HTML5 standard. So essentially, this is what we want. We just want something to render our web page, our game, and then have an executable file that we can use. And this is what, again, NW.js is for, and I will be using NW.js all through this tutorial / talk / my best experience during the summer. Right, so and finally, of course, we want to get this on Steam, which I don't know if I get to today because there is quite a lot to do, but this Steam integration, I think this has to happen at some point and not too late. So if you want to have something like Steam with all its cloud saves, and you get friends, username and friends of a user, and yeah, like cloud save I already said, and most importantly, probably achievements. So you should have some framework in place to allow for achievements, and then if it's I don't know if you just plan to release your game as is on itch.io, have some way to handle achievements. And if your game notices that it's a Steam build, for example, then it switches over to a different kind of handling these achievements, just so you know. And there, of course, is something that I don't have to program myself. I will just show you how to make it possible to have achievements from Steam work with your HTML5 games. And in my case, HTML5 means my Twine game. And at the heart of it is you want to develop your Twine game, and the Twine game should not be intertwined. Wait for it. There we go. Should not be intertwined with the Steam API logic, essentially. So you want your Twine game to work as standalonely as possible, because of course you really want to separate those layers. And this is, like I said, what I'm doing with my game now, and I will show you how I did this and all the things that I've learned during this week. So is there another slide there that I have? No, just this one. So essentially this is what we're going to do. Right, Rather Jolly said, so stoked, the automated unicorn did something, and Joss XPH, you got called out by the automated unicorn. Cheers to you. I'm sorry. Again, this is not a lurker-friendly chat or stream, because the automated unicorn, and sooner or later it will greet you. Okay, so enough background talk. Let's switch over to... Hi, it's me in small. This is my desktop. There we go. And I think we can try, and I can try to start from scratch, essentially. So let's just say I will create here a new folder on my desktop, and I just call this test for now. So again, what I need is first this browser engine, this NW.js. Okay, so where do we get this? Glad you asked. Just Google for it. There are... And now here is the first gotcha, right? So if you want to enable Steam, you need some backend or some plugin to this browser engine that is able to talk to Steam. You don't want to code it yourself, because thankfully the wonderful people at Greenheart Games have already programmed something like this and made it thankfully open source. So the plugin is called Greenworks And I just, when I say Greenworks, it probably won't work. So I just say Greenworks GitHub. And there we are already. And this is what you want. This is Greenheart Games Greenworks. This is super cool because it has here docs and samples. And the cool thing about this is, even if you decide to work with Electron, this also works for Electron. So no matter if you want to follow along with NW.js, as I will be doing now, or you want to do this with Electron, it works for both things. And there is even a sample file. And this is super straightforward, documented. So why did I say first we have to look at this thing before we get NW.js? The downside of this is it only works with a very specific Steam SDK version and with a very specific Node.js version. So this is something that took me way too long to figure out, that everything has to work together, right? So where do I find it? Let me zoom out again. Right, so everything is super detailed here, and I'm quite happy with how this entire README is structured, because we all know on GitHub the quality of the README file varies greatly, but this one is quite great. And this one here says exactly Node NW.js version 0.8 version 0.11 plus is supported, and Steam SDK 142. So, and to get to download it, just click here on releases, and again Greenworks for version 0.14.0 for there. This is the Greenworks version, right? So up to 33.3, right? So let's keep this in mind, and let's just go for NW.js. I'm really, I think I deserve some credit that I didn't say once NV.js. So this is essentially the download page. And again, first you want to go for, yeah, do I need SDK? Do I need normal? 0.58, exactly. This is not what you want, because this is a few versions too advanced. So what you want, of course, is to get to the old things. Downloads, right. And other downloads, of course, is, no, this is other downloads. I want legacy releases. No, this is not the legacy releases. Previous releases, my God. And again, I'm going for 0.33.3. And there again, you will be asking yourself, should I get the SDK version or the normal version? What is the difference? And again, if you're following along and want to do this on Mac OS or on Linux, look at this. It's wonderful. Everything is also for Linux and OS X, and even Windows 64-bit or Windows 32 bits are supported. Right, so which one should you choose? Should you choose the SDK version or the normal version? The difference with the SDK version is it's like it works like with a browser like Chrome, where it just hit F12 and then you get the console and the elements inspector and can do profiling and such, which is super helpful if you're doing debugging of your game. But of course, if you want to distribute it on Steam, you want to disable all the SDK features. And personally, I have essentially two installs of this. One's the SDK version that I use for developing, and when I think, yeah, this is ready for Steam, I will just compile everything with the normal version then, and then you can hit F12 as long as you want. You won't, as a user, you won't get into the console and can't mess things up there. Right, so for now I will get the NW.js SDK for Windows 64 bits, because I want all the bits that I can get. And essentially here in my test folder, I will just create a new NW.js folder for now. It would be good, of course, to name it after the version and the bits that are the build, the bits of the build. Essentially, you want to keep this folder name, so just that you know where it belongs to. Or you know what, I will just extract this as is in there, and so that we keep this version name. So what is now in this thing here? And in here is this NW exe file, the executable file, and now everything froze. Okay, good, my mouse is back. And all the other things here, Chrome driver, FFmpeg if you want to have videos or such. So pretty much this is the basic framework. This is just the browser for your game to run. If I run NW.js now, it just displays this here. I can select it and we just get some debugging messages. But essentially it's a browser. It's a browser. So how do we tell this thing now that our website, our game should be the one that we want to run? Okay, for this I need now some game, and I will just have here in my build sources what I call PowerMT. I can show you afterwards how I structured things because I have quite an elaborate setup. So I just copied in there. And the next thing that you will need is some sort of package description, not some sort of package description, but a package description. So this is, you probably have seen this, it's a JSON file. It's just called package.json. And yes, I'm sure I want to change it, and I open it up here in my notepad. And essentially this just tells NW.js which file is the entry point, which is the first website to display. Of course, you can load other websites from the web. You can have more websites. It doesn't have to be one HTML file. You can have multiple HTML files. Just the important part is that NW.js ndubs needs to find it, right? And for this, if you haven't written a package description before, you can just Google package.json and then you can see what the overall structure of those things is. Let me just do this quickly so that I can just copy over, but essentially you just need the main file for it. So package.json example, creating a package.json file. So what is required is a name and version fields, and there we go. Essentially, I mean, for this now, this doesn't work because we need the main file. And I'm here at npm, which is something differently at all, but you know what, I will just go package.json nw.js, then we are safe. Manifest format documentation. So this nw.js documentation, this is my go-to when I'm not sure where what am I doing, because again because this thing acts like a browser, but it doesn't have a bookmarks button. You can even say it shouldn't have a close button. You can code this all yourself by using what's here in the package, not in the package, in the documentation, right? So essentially the minimal is a main and a name. Let me zoom in. So I'm going to just copy this one and enter this in where is my notepad? There. I just paste it here and just call, you know what, my PowerMT game. I take out the space just to be super safe. Again, if you're on Linux and I think also on Mac, casing is important. So when you're on Windows doesn't care about uppercase or lowercase. Mac and Linux especially do, so don't forget this. So I just say PowerMT HTML, and the thing is, just call it test game. Yeah, why not? And now if I run nw.exe, it runs. It runs here my PowerMT game. This is now negative. This is just so that I know that it's using the correct image files and so on and so forth. But essentially, this is it. So all you need now is to upload this to Steam, and you're done, right? But of course, you want, in that case, you don't have achievements for Steam, right? For this, you need this Greenworks plugin, right? And I'm going to show you how to get now this working together with NW.js. But so far, of course, one other thing is that you don't have to just plop this in here. You can also maybe create a folder that you call assets or something. And if you move everything in there, like your game, you can just say in the main file is in assets. assets/PowerMT. And there in assets, of course, everything has to be relative in terms of path. So there you can have maybe your JavaScript, your CSS, your images, pretty much everything that constitutes your game. So everything is neat and tidy and tucked away in this assets folder, for example. So you don't have to litter the Node SDK version, or in this case, the Node SDK package. There we go. With your files, so that in the end you don't know which belongs to what. So I've neglected the chat, so I'm sorry for this. And we got a first-time chatter from author Ahmad Webi. Damn, I got caught. Time for Plan B. I'm sorry. I have no idea what the context was of that. Oh no, you found me, says TechFox North. No one is spared. Exactly. Game. There we go. Northwest.js. I have no idea what Northwest.js, but I think this is much simpler to say than NW, right? So I think this is what you're getting at. Okay, right. So now if I run this, again, it starts as it is. So you probably have noticed, the window is now a bit smallish. Maybe I wanted to start it bigger. With my game, maybe I even wanted to start it in full screen and so on. And this you do, at least here for the starting, you can all specify here in package.js. So let me find now the documentation again. Here we go. So those are all the feature control fields that you have. So for example, if I make here a new window, I just say window, and then there are some subfields like, let's go with width 12, or even that we can see it, that it's full screen, and height 1080. And I really hope now that this works. I'm not quite sure if I should put it in quotes. Maybe I need to do this. And is it still running? No, it's not. And there is some syntax error. Of course, there is. Oh yeah, the comma. Good old JSON. Good old JSON things. And of course, dictionary keys must be quoted. So it's maybe, let's be sure that this is it. No, it's not. Line 7, column 4. Oh, there is one comma too much. This is super strict. This is super strict. So are you running now? No, you're not running anymore. Yeah, my point is I probably shouldn't have freestyled this package JSON. So this is why I urge you always to have some sort of reference for this. So maybe it runs now. It does not run anymore, probably because it's still running in the background. I have no idea. I have no idea why it's not running anymore. Let's see, in the task manager. Yes, this is the part of the of the stream where I'm in task manager, and look for NW.js. Yeah, it's still running in the background, and this is the problem. So it should run again now. It does not run. Is it not running or just not showing? It looks like it's not showing. Node.js. Probably should kill this Node.js. Probably I need it for my server, the chat thingy. Let's move this over here so that I can also look at the chat if people are already laughing at me. NW.js, I want to kill it. There's another NW.js. Maybe I should have sorted this by name. Okay, let's try this once more. There we go. Okay, good. So at least I didn't break it entirely. Okay, one thing, of course, that I forgot to mention is what are the downsides of this approach of doing it like I'm doing. Because so far it looks super good and it only has upsides. One downside is that could be turned also into an upside, or with a little bit of work is not an issue at all. The one downside is that for now your exe file is called nw.exe. I mean, you can change it to whatever you want. My game, my game. There we go. But then of course you still got this ugly, this icon that you don't want to use. I mean, right now you can see here, there is a different icon because you can specify which icon, which PNG file in this package you want to use as an icon for your application, which is cool, but you can't easily change this thing here. There are tools out there like Resource Hacker, which is I think an open source program, or at least it's freeware, where you can just exchange also icon files there if you want to be super tidy. But then again, if you want to release this on Steam, it's not an issue, because you can also upload on Steam on the back end which icon file you want to use for the client, and the client actually, unless they are looking into this directory, they won't see what this thing looks like. Okay, and the other thing is that might be also something that you can work around is the cool thing is also the downside is that essentially everyone can look at your source code. So whatever you distribute your game as source. It's a bit like, yeah, the good old basic programs where everyone could look at your source. You can, of course, use obfuscators and minimizers, but those aren't 100% foolproof, because if someone wants to steal your code or is super adamant about reverse engineering certain things, they can. So yeah, take this just with a grain of salt, that maybe some people can take things out. Of course, even though it's not, it's illegal, essentially. It's just plagiarism if you copy something. But then again, how much of your code is copied snippets from Stack Overflow? Exactly. So it's a little bit of a gray area. I just wanted you to know this. Right, so Steam. How do we get this to play nice with Steam? And the one thing that we need, of course, now is this Greenworks plugin. So Greenworks GitHub, I will just go here and download it again and wait it here on the releases page. And again, the important thing is I got now the 64-bit version of NW.js. You need to get, of course, then the 64-bit version of Greenworks. So what is the latest release? It's 0.14.0 and for Windows 64, so which is this one. And if we inspect now the zip file, essentially it looks like this. There is just this. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to run it. I'm really sorry, Windows script host. So it's just this Greenworks.js and entire lib folder. So where do these go? They just go straight there on top of everything in your NW.js SDK. Again, if you're developing, you want to have multiple NW.js folders, one with the SDK, one with 64-bit, one with 32-bit, and of course you need to have the corresponding Greenworks plugin there with every other. Okay, so how can we test whether Steam is working? One thing is I probably should launch Steam. And the next thing is, okay, Steam is already running. This is super cool. The next thing is, of course, you need the Steam SDK. How do you get the Steam SDK? Well, if you're a Steam developer, you can just log into Steamworks, and there you can find the Steam SDK. I will try now to just show you the Steam SDK files, because there is also the possibility to get older Steam SDK files. Steamworks. Right, what does the chat say? What does the Fox say? What does the chat say? And first time chat from Mopsy Mouse is here. Wonderful. Thank you so much for dropping by, Mopsy. Why not use GMS2, Game Maker Studio 2? Exactly, because I don't like the policy now with subscriptions and such. So if you can get away with this, it's cool. And it doesn't cost you anything, right? My games are 90% written by other people. It's just, it's when you copy all your code, it's not so much programming, it's more like editing, right? It's like compiling a volume of good people's code just in the right order, and now ta-da, you've made a game. Right, Steamworks sign in. This is the wrong browser. This is also the wrong browser. Where is my browser that I usually use? This one. Steamworks. So to sum up, you need the correct NW.js version, you need the correct Greenworks version, and you need the correct Steam SDK version. Please let me log in. Good. And let me zoom in here. There do we have it. Currently, the Steamworks SDK, the current one is 1.52, and you can say here, of course, you want the latest SDK, but you can also get older SDKs. And I think I've forgotten where to get this, but if I click download the latest, now it just opens this zip file here. Right, Steamworks documentation. I think there with the Steamworks documentation, you can get older SDKs. There we go. Upload your Steamworks example application, uploading to Steam required. You can get the latest version of the Steam SDK here. Yeah, again, we don't want the latest version. So there, of course, there was a possibility to get not the latest Steam SDK version, which I thought was much easier to find than what I've been doing now. So let me see if give me one more minute to find older Steam SDK versions. And there we go. Okay, I just should have clicked SDK releases, and if I recall correctly, the latest one that works is 1.44. So we want this Steam SDK version, and again, it's just a zip file. It's 22 megabytes, and you think, holy cow, how many what is in there for 22 megabytes? How many DLLs does Steam need? And it's the Steam SDK is a quite nice package of all the tools that you would need. So essentially, what you really need from the Steam SDK, I just unzip it there, are just two very specific files. And which are those two very specific files? Greenworks will tell you on their GitHub page, right? So let me just go there. Docs, README, achievement, cloud, build instructions, gotchas, get Steamworks SDK. So how to get, and then you need to get, of course, the correct, copy the renamed Steamworks SDK to Greenworks source dependent. You can set also Steamworks SDK path. No, I didn't. This is not what I had to do with it, essentially. This is not what I did. Quick start, there it was. Quick start. Yeah, this was the one. So I make this a bit bigger. There are two files, namely steamapi.dll, and the other one is SDK encrypted app ticket.dll if you need to have some sort of authentication. If you're playing, if you're building, for example, multiplayer games that need to have some authentication, you can also offload this to Steam and not have to do it yourself. So let's inspect the Steam SDK folder first. What does it look like? So there's a README file, which is super helpful. There is, I just opened it, and there's of course a tools section. This is when you need to upload your depots and packages, as it is called, to Steam. There's even a Steam pipe GUI, which is quite nice. Then Goldmasters, DRMs, and so on. So essentially, it's pretty much everything to package your game correctly for Steam. But what you want, of course, is here in public and Steam. There are all the C++ headers. So of course, this is C++ heavy. But under lib, there you can find essentially for all the SDK and encrypted DLLs. Again, those have to be the ones as with the same architecture as NW.js, so 64 bits. Same for Greenworks, and of course here. So I just copy. I just move this out. This Win64 SDK encrypted app ticket 64. I just copy it here, and the other is also here in SDK. Was it here? No, it was in public, I think. I always forget where the vanilla Steam API is. Redistributable.bin. There we go. So this is, again, I need the 64-bit version. This is the Steam API 64-bit. So those are the two. Let's just move it. Why not? So those are the two files from the SDK you need for Greenworks to work with. And where to put those? So the Steam API, in this case, it's the Steam API 64 DLL. Based on your, should go to. We are here in the NW.js folder, and there, here it's the lib folder where the Greenworks thing lives. So I just copy this over here, and I think I also just copy over this for authentication. And this is all that Greenworks needs from the Steam API, I think. This also, just to lib, and lib, again, if you're on Windows, it's a different file, of course, than when you're on Mac, and so on and so forth. So develop your Node.js app code under Greenworks path /directory with Greenworks path. Essentially, this is where the Greenworks.js file lives. Again, I've put this here in the root folder because this is for me the easiest thing. Okay, so how do we test this now? How can we finally get those achievements working? One thing that we need to do is first we need to, because this is Steam and Steam is a bit different, we need to have a Steam app ID. If you're not a Steam developer yet, or even if you don't have an app ID yet, you can use the app ID of 480, I think, which is just the test API where you can just set achievements and so on. It's just one achievement so that you can just check if your Steam API connection is actually working. So what does the chat say? Joe Pring says, no, Phil, what does the fox say? It was finally out of my head for years. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sticking around with me nonetheless. Oddly specific game already drops the beat, so I'm not going to sing this or anything. Tudvari says, I hope you will have more fun with the Steam API. I hate its architecture. We all do, but we all have to work with it if we want our games to be on Steam. Right, so this Steam app ID, how do we get this? How do we tell this so that this needs to work? It's super simple. I just create a new text file. I don't think it has to be in UTF-8 or anything. I just call this app ID or Steam app ID again. Okay, it's not that easy if I can't remember it. Let me quickly check. It probably says here Steam app ID.txt. And this, of course, is only for testing. So new text document, Steam app ID.txt, and you just put in your app ID, and for testing it's just 480. So this is how Steam _ app ID.txt. Right. Okay, again, we want to test this. And the wonderful people at Greenheart Games have, this was once too farthest up the hierarchy under samples, and there we can look at NW.js. And what is here? We got an HTML, we got a JavaScript, we got the package.json. Again, what is in here? It just says name and main for the test thing here, and a README file where it just says that this is important, that you need to set the Chromium arguments in the package.json file for process GPU and disable transparency. I will get to this in a bit because this is important, but sadly this is not all that you need to fix an issue that will crop up later, but we will get there when we will get there. Right, so first let's have a look at index.html. What is going on here? So essentially what is going on here just says, we got here a script that is called main.js. You know what? I will create now a new test file, and I will create this test file I will just call it, I just made a new folder. I will create a new text file here and just call it main.html, and this will be to test our Steamworks connection, right? So of course when I open it in the browser it shows nothing. So I just say HTML. You know what? I can actually copy pretty much the demo here. So essentially, it's just doc type HTML head, right? Body. There is this one again, this force refresh function. This is going to be again important, and there is just test and script require, right? And the important part is, of course, that we require this Greenworks.js. And what of course, this did not work because I had to say Greenworks. I had to specify that the variable Greenworks is require Greenworks.js. I think that was it. And of course, what we also need now is the JavaScript file, which actually does this connection, which is the more interesting thing. And I will just copy it as is, and then we will quickly step through it because it's just getting the connection to Steam. So where do I put it? Again, I can put it pretty much anywhere. I just have to specify it where I put it. So let's put it under assets, and there I make a new folder and just call it JS, and there I put steam.js. I just call it steam.js, and now my syntax highlighting is there. Then of course I will move here my main file also to, of course, when I'm zoomed in, I can't move it. I'm really sorry. So I will also move my main file here into the assets folder. And I will update here my package.json that it goes to main.html. So essentially, when I start my game, it loads this file in main.html. Now we are in assets main.html. And this main.html file, where's my notepad? There it is. This main.html file will go to JS Steam. And when I run this now, it just says test. And if we look at all the errors that we get, they shall be plentiful, because we got require is not defined. Of course not, because now we're trying to run this in a web page, and require is a Node.js command. So this only runs when we're launching it through NW.js. So this is why it's for this kind of thing, you can't really debug this in your browser. You have to run it in NW.js. And this is why you want, again, the SDK build that you can hit F12 in Node.js, and not in Node.js, in NW, as I apparently am calling it. And when I run this now, it still says test. But here I got also cannot find module. And why can't we find Greenworks? Because someone set this up here super weird. I mean, it's 2 folders up in Greenworks.js, which essentially it should be, but I'm not quite sure that it is. So let's have a look at this steam.js. So essentially all it does is just it logs messages, right? And here it just says get element by ID logs. Let's keep this file in the editor. No, because we have it differently. I hope you still can follow what is going on here. So I try to streamline this again and sum it up. Okay, so what do we have here? We have our package.json description is where to find the main file. Then here is our main file, which loads this JavaScript, which is just Steam. And this is the JavaScript file that does the Steam connection with Greenworks, right? And here it says var Greenworks require Greenworks.js. So, and this is why this probably didn't work here. But what we need is, because we have this logging feature here, which just says gets the element logs by ID, we need to have an element that is called logs. So let me just finish here the body. it's super untidy HTML, and I just say here ID logs div closed, and their logs go here. So if we run this, it should read logs go here. And it's, oh yeah, of course, I still have it open. You can only have a Node.js process running. Why did I want to run the DLL? So there we go, logs go here. If I open up F12, we still got the cannot find module error, which is not very helpful. And we also can't, of course, can get any context or anything of Steam. This get context will be a bit interesting, because we will, like I said, remember when I said this Chromium arguments, we will get there when we will get there. We will get there eventually. I just want to test this thing, right? Okay, good. So we need Greenworks.js. Where the hell is Greenworks? From assets. So again, we're here in JS. We need to go up once. Then we are here, and we need to go up twice. And there, actually, there should be Greenworks.js. So I'm not quite sure how this is working, but maybe it's from relative to the HTML file. I'm not quite sure. Let's try this out. And this look at this. This looks much better. So it works. So it tells here, I'm sorry for doxing pretty much all my Steam friends here, but we got the Steam API installed successfully. It says cloud enabled for user, number of friends, 33 friends. Who would have thought that I have this many friends one day? Failed on activating achievement, and read text from file successfully, a number of players. Yeah, this is, I think, just the people playing the current test file. So essentially, this works. Again, if hit F12 and look at the console, what it tells you. And the problem was that, yeah, this Greenworks was set up weirdly, and now it works. So Now there is a thing that I like to call abstraction, and this is, yeah, I know this is a super cool term that I've just come up with. No, kidding aside, of course you don't want to have this in your Twine game, because like I said, you want your Twine game to be as much decoupled from the actual the thick of it, like this, from interacting with Steam and doing all the achievements and all the Steam testing code and so on and so forth. So and at this point I will show you just one more thing, which is yeah, but before we go into this, let's address the elephant in the room. That was those force refresh thing that is happening here. So what the hell is this force refresh doing here? This function updates the renderer at a given frame rate, even if the user is idle. Without this function, the Steam overlay would feel like frozen. And this is a super problematic if you want to have support, like, you know, this little pop-up at the bottom of games when you have an achievement. This is handled through the Steam overlay. Let me show you if you don't know what the hell am I talking about with the Steam overlay. So was it Shift F2? I think it was. It doesn't work now for this one, but the Steam overlay, you know what, I can just run a random Steam game, or not a random Steam game, is the current state of my test game, of my PowerMT game, which is I've already have this test built up on Steam. So this is how my main menu looks. This is all HTML5, and you can see here this access the Steam community while playing. This is handled through the Steam overlay. And press Shift, it still says here Steam offline, which is something that I've messed up. But here, this is the Steam overlay. When you hit Shift and Tab, you have this little overlay here where you can look at your friends, look at what achievements you've already achieved, and so on. This is how actually it should be working, but the frame rate, you probably notice, is a bit sluggish. I mean, it's not terrible currently, but as soon as I start my screen recorder, it becomes a little bit sluggish. And the reason for this is, if you're doing anything that's not a text-based game, essentially, if you're drawing a canvas, HTML5 canvas, and you're updating it like 30 times a second, 60 times a second with a get a new animation frame, this is not an issue, I think. The problem is with Twine games, those are text-based, and again, this is NW.js is a browser engine, which means, of course, it's optimized not to be super unperformant. Essentially, it means if the page doesn't update, there is no need to redraw the screen or redraw this section of the page, because it's just text, it doesn't update. The problem is it doesn't know if there is a Steam overlay currently present, so also the Steam overlay doesn't correctly update. So essentially what you get is, if you hit Shift and Tab, nothing happens. Only if you have a log message where you say Steam overlay activated, it tells you, yeah, okay, the Steam overlay is now active, but you don't see it as a user. And of course, you can't interact with the page, the underlying page, so it won't update. So the problem, again, is some way to force the screen or the game to update like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 30 times, 60 times a second, instead of just whenever something changes. And for this, this is this force refresh function here. So if we look at main again, it says here on load force refresh, and this is this function that runs, and essentially it just runs get element by ID, force refresh, get context, clear rectangle. Essentially you just having, you know what, let me draw this there in Photoshop, because this is why I still have Photoshop open. So imagine your web page, your game page, and we're looking at this in some sort of isometric. If I manage to get this updated, my god, the performance of Photoshop is currently horrible. I don't know what is happening, probably because I'm running too many things right now. You know what, let's not do this in Photoshop. Let's do this in good old MS Paint. MS Paint to the rescue. Okay, so again, I will say this is, yeah, this looks a bit better in terms of frame rate. So yeah, this is a bit wonky. So this is your web page viewed from the side, right? And now I want to draw on top of this web page completely, no, not this line here, I want a new line, and completely covering it, but super transparent, 100% transparent, or maybe 99.9% transparent, because if it's 100% transparent, the optimization of WebKit will kick in and will tell it, yeah, if it's 100% or 0% or 100% transparent, it's invisible and we don't need to render or update it. So this is why it's good to have this canvas at 0.01 opacity. And this one you want to update 60 times a second, 30 times a second, no matter if something is running underneath or updating underneath, essentially. So let's go back here. And the problem here that I have, why this is not working in this case, is I have no context that ID, a canvas that has this ID. You know what? Let's make this canvas ID is force refresh. And let's say width is, or style, and the width is 100% and the height is 100%. Essentially, you want to fill the entire screen with this canvas. And let's just say opacity 0.01. I think it's not even percent or anything, it's just 0.1. And the problem here is, you can see here, we're clearing this rectangle, but in this demo here, in this example, we're clearing only the first pixel. Because apparently in previous versions, it was enough if you just drew one pixel, the entire canvas would update. Or if it was okay if you just had one pixel that would be running at 60 FPS in your text game. This doesn't work anymore because I've tried, and your rectangle has to have the width and the height of the canvas. So this is why I make this a bit more fleshed out. I just say canv, not canv, is document get element of force refresh. There we go. And then I can say canv get context, and clear rectangle is canv, width. My god, my typing. And canv, I wrote here Kevin height. And then again, we request a new animation frame at 1000 divided by 30, which runs 30 times a second. So let me try this again, and maybe we will have now here a Steam overlay working. We do not when I activate the Steam overlay, but again, I don't think that this is probably because this is incorrect. Because if you recall before that there was this one line in the Greenworks. Where is my browser? Here in the Greenworks example, where it said we need to add this line to the package definition. And you probably are a bit confused right now, but bear with me, and I will just finish this and then go over everything just quickly again, that we show where we currently are, and then I'll show you how I'm doing these things, that you can have your actual Twine game pretty much unobstructed by this entire SDK and Greenworks implementation, and do things differently. Right, okay, so samples and NW.js, and there it says those Chromium arguments in process GPU and disable transparency, those I need to add. Because again, those are things that should, here in the package description, those are the things that limit this updating cycle of our test game. So essentially this should be run now, without any errors here in the console, because everything is accounted for. But currently I don't have a Steam overlay, which is weird, but it should work in theory. So I can show you in my game. I think I also said that I wanted to disable the throttling, which means if you minimize something or if another window has focus, then of course it also will limit how much it updates any animation, request animation frame and any other timers. So this is what you don't want. Okay, so let's summarize. What the hell did we do? First, we looked at Greenworks, which is the plugin that allows NW.js and the Steam SDK to communicate, right? For that, of course, we can't pick any of the latest versions. We have to look at what is currently supported. And in this case, it was the Steam SDK 144. And for the NW.js SDK, it was 0.33.3. It's also important that if you have a 64-bit version, you only get the 64-bit version of the NW.js, of the Steam API, and of Greenworks. Same for x82, right? Cool. Okay, then we modified here the package description, just where this browser engine should find the very first file to display. In this case, it's under assets in our main HTML file, and we added those Chromium arguments just that it shows the Steam overlay when it's there and it refreshes it. This one does not, of course, refresh it, but it just shows it. Right, then we copied the Greenworks in here, where it's just Greenworks.js and the lib. The lib folder, and into this library folder we copied the Steam API and the SDK encrypted app ticket in there, and this is all it needs. Right, and then we can start developing our app. In this case, it's just this main HTML file, and if you look at it, it just has here this JavaScript, which we'll be going to look at right now. And the important thing is to have a canvas on top of everything. I think the problem here is that it's not on top of everything. Let me quickly try this before I move on. So I just say position fixed, top 0 pixels and left 0 pixels, and yeah, and have the Z index at 10 so that it renders on top and covers 100% of everything. So let me see if this now works. No, it does not. Okay. Would have been nice, but this is how I did things. Right, so we got this canvas on top of everything and this force refresh that's running, like I said, every 30 or 60 frames per second. In here, in this steam.javascript file, this is where the magic essentially happens. In this case, it just runs the Steam test SDK, and you can get this Greenworks, the handle to Greenworks by Greenworks is require Greenworks, and the most important part is just to get here the relative path to this Greenworks.js file correct. Right, then of course it says here if it's not supported, so this is just the, in this case, of course, copy-pasted the code from Steam API testing, but everything is in there. So essentially you just want to test or load the Steam SDK once and then have some sort of a flag where your game knows, or at least this page, in this case the main page knows, that the Steam SDK is running and working, that the cloud is enabled, pretty much that anything that you want is enabled. So once you want to set an achievement file for anything, let me quickly show you how this works. You just call Greenworks. Remember, this is the require. This Greenworks is the required Greenworks JavaScript file. And you just say here, activate achievement, and then you need to specify the achievement ID. This achievement ID is the one that's also on the Steam backend, how you've named it there. And then, of course, if it's successful, you have this function. You can just specify here this function in place, or have another function. And this, the next one, is displayed if it's not possible to set this achievement, maybe because it was already activated, maybe because you made a spelling error or something. So it's always good to log something. But essentially, you just call Greenworks, activate achievement, and give it the name. And you can even say unset achievement, that you can take away an achievement. And essentially this, again, on the GitHub page of Greenworks, everything is documented there. But you can get things like get cloud quota. You just say a quota, and what you get back the quota, and how much of this quota is used if you want to use the Steam Cloud to store save games, for example. You can even save text files onto the Steam Cloud. In this case, it's this very short text file, but maybe for user configurations that are just carrying across when you install your game on a different machine. And other things are these essentially event handlers, so that when the Steam servers are connected, you can say connected, but you can also detect when the Steam servers suddenly disconnect, and then so your game doesn't get locked up in a while loop where it tries to set an achievement but it can't because Steam is offline or anything, things like that. So this essentially, if, for example, if you have not a Twine game and just your main game, all you need to do is have now this Steam.js, where essentially you just say here, Greenworks is here, and this is how you initialize Greenworks. First, you only have, of course, to initialize it once, and then you can just call Greenworks, set activate achievement, and so on and so forth, and it should work, provided, of course, you have set up everything correctly also on the Steam backend. My God, I hope this made sense. Let me have a look at the chat, what I've missed for the couple of minutes. All right. The automated unicorn already drifted off. I'm really sorry that I've neglected the chat for so long. Phil, I have to bail to do parent stuff, said Rather Jolly ages ago, but thank you so much for dropping by, and if you see this on VOD, thank you again. Good luck if I don't make it back, and I'm stoked. So yeah, you're very welcome. All the specific games I'll be going to, thanks for the tips, though I'll be experimenting with this soon. Yeah, have fun experimenting. Like I said, it's all just, I'm just 1 week or 2 weeks ahead with my research. I missed a lot of it since I was chatting with Lilo. She had a long drive to get back home and wanted to chat to stay awake. Yeah, of course, this is all, I mean, you can watch this on VOD, but if you have someone on the phone who needs to stay awake, please don't listen to this. I have to watch your VOD, exactly. And Joy Prince says, I will get some sleep now. Yeah, thanks, Joy. Thank you so much for sticking with me this long. And yeah, I wish you a lot of strength for the coming lockdown. So, but you know what? The good thing about lockdown is it means more content from your favorite streamers because they are at home and they're probably bored and need some company and something to do. So yeah, have a great week. And we'll look the rest as VOD or hopefully YouTube video. Oh, this is so nice. And the automated unicorn just said, yeah, stay safe. Yeah, of course. Everyone stay safe. Stay safe out there. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Okay, so in your HTML5 game, like I said, you just need some way to initialize Steam via Greenworks. And you're good, and then you can call in your logic Steamworks, Greenworks, communicate with Steam, right? Okay, so you've just seen how my game looks like, or the current state of the game, that is just the main menu. And I did things a little bit differently. So because you would think, as we had before, if I have a Twine game here, I just say, yeah, the Twine game here, in this case, it's just the main asset. But again, if I want this, then I have to have this entire Steam initialization, have to cram it into Twine, and I don't want this. In Twine, all I want to say is, I want to set an achievement, and I don't care who sets the achievement or if the achievement gets set. I'm just a Twine game. I don't have to care whether this stuff works or not. So let me bring up Paint again. And what is happening here with my game is the architectural choices are thus. So again, I have this canvas on top that is almost transparent completely, that just updates so that the Steam overlay runs. Underneath, I have this web page that shows my game or the main menu and so on. But this one is not the actual page, not the actual entry page. This one is just thinking it's the main page, because underneath this page, let me draw it slightly underneath here and make this, I don't know, green and slightly bigger. This main page here is actually running in an iframe of another page. And this affords me now some clever things, some cool things that I can do. And you probably, if you have some ideas of how to do things with web and so on, you can probably guess what those things are. Lady Miss Liv said, I thought I spied a list of people names in a file earlier. Patrons, my name was, it was my Steam friends. It's it's the friends. It called my friends on Steam, and of course you were there. Okay, so let me just type this out. My file is called entry .html because it's the entry file for where NW.js. No, this is not how you spell entry. This is the green one. Then the blue one is, let me just say here, a canvas. I'm so bad at typing, my God. This is the canvas on top, and the black one that we have here is the actual game.html. Let's call this game.html. And what also makes, what is important is the entire Steam connection and everything lives in the green one, in entry. So let me try to... I always want to use Photoshop, and then Photoshop for some reason is utterly unresponsive when I'm trying to do things. So I always end up using Paint and hating it, but just, well, not hating it, I'm just mildly disappointed by Paint, but I think I'll manage. So here at entry, there is Steam connections, and also logging, by the way. Also logging is happening here. So if I bring up now my PowerMT game, again, I'm really launching this from Steam because it's already working on Steam. You can see here at the bottom it says underneath Steam API or Steam is offline. Here. This, when I click something here, for example, up here with the middle mouse button, it just outputs here the current time. So just this is just for debugging. It just lives there for a couple of seconds before it fades out, unless I've marked this as permanent. Like Steam is offline. This is something, of course, I want to be shown as long as it is active. Right. So again, if we look at this, this one lives again in this entry HTML, but it lives right underneath this canvas here. So there I have also a div. Let's just make this, let's make this orange. And it's in roughly in this position in the canvas for like so. I hope this makes sense. If I draw it here like this. Again, this is the isometric view of this web page, and there it just says logging. So it probably would make more sense if I come to realize, oh, a friend of mine, Jürgen, hey Jot, you're playing DayZ now. So if I hit now F12, because this is the SDK version, I can inspect everything what is going on here. But the problem is, yeah, I just made a screenshot. The problem is, of course, it won't display me what is going on in this iframe. And for this, again, this is the black frame here. This the entire main menu is inside this iframe. What this allows me to do again is that I only have this Steam connection once, because everything when I'm switching from the main menu to my main game, the entry page is still staying the same. It doesn't have to reload Steam or reconnect or anything because it already is connected, and it just displays. Again, the green website essentially is just the carrier medium for all the other content that I have. And and on top of this is this canvas that makes it possible for the Steam overlay to be redrawn. And on top of that, or I think it's underneath the canvas actually, is this orange rectangle that is just for logging. So if there are any errors or something, they get drawn on top of the game that's underneath. So I think I still have, do I have the credits working? No, not in this version. So if I hit start, it fades out, and now it starts here the Twine game, but you can still see here Steam is offline as well. And if I hover over here, I have these buttons, and Alex Köhler, another friend of mine that I haven't seen in over a decade, is playing games. It's a wonderful time to play games in the evening before the lockdown. So now I can't go back, at least not in this version. I can only restart this page here, but I can't get back to the main menu unless I close this game. So this is essentially the architecture. So you probably wonder now, yeah, okay, Phil, this is all nice and dandy, but how do I set an achievement now in this game that runs in an iframe, that believes it is running independently of everything? And I have one cool word for you that explains everything. So for those who know what events are, there you go, this is your answer. Because events are very cool. For the uninitiated, which I call myself as well, is events are just something that notifies something else. or it just shouts into the void. And if something is listening for this certain thing, then it reacts to it or not, but there won't be an error if something does not happen. And again, pretty much everything now in my architecture communicates here with events. So in principle, let me open up now my Twine game and show you how this looks in Twine. Essentially, if you get an achievement, it just shouts, whoever is my parent, here's an achievement. Power empty, I think there it should be. Whoever is my parent, here's an object that is called achievement. And in this case, again, the game is the black frame here, and the parent is green, is this entry HTML. And inside this entry HTML, there I got event listeners for things like, did something change or should something change with the entire UI, the web page? Or is there an achievement event? And if there is an achievement event, then I will handle it. The game itself doesn't have to worry about it, that there is an achievement or anything. It just has to say, hey, achievement, there, I just want to set this achievement, do with it what you will. I hope this makes sense. Let me quickly check how I did this in this Twine game, because again, this in Twine you can have different story formats, and the one that I'm using is called Sugar Cube 2. Let me quickly show you, change the story format. This is the current version of Sugar Cube, and there is an entire documentation. The cool thing about Twine is you can have, it says here, edit story JavaScript, and this is the JavaScript that runs in front of your story. So when you start your game, this is, you need to prefix everything with setup dot, and then you can use it as a function or as a variable. So in this case, it looks like this, needed to dispatch achievements up the chain, essentially. So again, this is running in an iframe, and whoever my parent is, I just shoot it here, this custom event, which I call achievement event, and it gives this data with it. So if you have multiple achievements, for example, I call this one here darkness, and then maybe I have an achievement shoot monster, shit monster, yeah, exactly, no shitting. And there, of course, I have to, I mean, what fields I come up with is totally up to myself. I just thought for Steam, I only need the ID that I have on Steam, but maybe, just maybe, I want to have it as a standalone game. Then I also said what the achievement actually reads, and the subtitle of the achievement, and even an image and an optional value. Maybe 1, in this case I use 1 to set the achievement and 0 to take it away, because this is also possible. So again, essentially I'm just looking at if something in my game calls event achievement, and the first property is the ID of the achievement, in this case darkness, and the second is the value. So I push up, I create this object, this data object here, and create this as a new event, and then I just say to the parent, whoever my parent is, this is an event for you. And the parent, again, is the game, not the game, the green one. So let's have a look at how my game handles this. So I got this here in build, sources, and entry. I called this entry because this is the entry point of my game. So yeah, this doesn't do anything. We want to look at it here in the text editor. So again, this is just structured for myself, lots of JavaScript. And down here, I have here window, my achievement events. So if we look at this now side by side, I hope this works. Yeah, this works. Cool. So this one again just says here, I'm adding an event listener. So as soon as the page loads, it starts with an event listener. Ziape guy says, what Notepad++ theme is that? It looks beautiful. Why, thank you. Okay, now I can plug myself, because this is the dark theme of Notepad++, but I authored some syntax highlighting, because here under language, you can change here where it says here style configurator, of course, we can have different styles. And my styles are here called Notepad++ Fills Style 2015 version 2. And I think if you want those, I can upload them somewhere, because I made them for Java, JavaScript, C++, and then I have additional ones for, let me see, for basic, GML, Ink, and Sugar Cube. And those things for basic GML and SugarCube you can get at my GitHub page. So I think if you want those, I can. You know what? That I don't forget it. I will just export them here. Can I export them here? No, I cannot. Where was this shortcut style configurator? Import style themes. Yeah, I will find a way to export those styles. If you could release it, that would be amazing. I will try to do this right after the stream. Please remind me again when I'm ending the stream, and then I will just put it on Twitter so you can have a go at my language settings. So I think I have them here for batch files, for C#, C++, what else? HTML, Java, JavaScript, PHP, and basic, and I think that's it. And XML. No, I don't have them for XML. Right. Anyway, so where were we? Okay, so again, my entry, my carrier medium, the green one, that displays the game in this black iframe here. The game just says event achievement. I push up this data object, and here we listen for achievement event. Again, this has to be, of course, the same thing. And the first thing here is handle achievement event and false. So this false is, this is just how to add this event listener. So what happens is when an achievement event arrives, this function runs that is called handle achievement event . So the cool thing about this is, like I said, if you have if you have your game in on itch.io, you can just have here a switch, and where it says if it's a Steam version, then I look at if I can set it here via Greenworks, and if it's running on standalone on itch.io, I create myself this little achievement pop-up and keep track of the achievements myself. Again, your Twine game doesn't have to know how achievements are handled or what achievements are already there. You just push it up the chain, and that's it. Fire and forget. So what we have here, if data value is 1, this is when we can look at how I'm setting here achievements actually. So when I'm setting here, when I'm starting the game, this is the only line that I need now. I just call here the function, which I have to prefix with setup because I've had it here in my story JavaScript. So setup dot, then event achievement, the first one is the ID, and the second one is 1 if I want to set it, and 0 if I want to unset it. It's gone. And with that, it creates an event that sends it upstream. And again here, we look at, okay, so if the value of the data that we sent is 1, then we want to set an achievement. Okay, so first, if is Steam, in this case, this is always true because this is a Steam version. Then we say to Greenworks, hey, get the achievement with this ID. In this case, this was darkness. The value is 1, which means we want to set this. So all we need is to tell Steam is, hey, I want to get this achievement. When we get this achievement, then we can say, okay, we want to activate this achievement. And if we can't get the achievement, then we probably should log an error and said failed to get achievement, maybe because Steam is offline or has been going offline. Maybe we want to do something like caching the achievements, but this is something that's super advanced, and I mean not super advanced, but something more advanced than just granting an achievement. But so if we can get the achievement data, then we just say, yeah, I've activated the achievement, because the Greenworks function just says, okay, what is the achievement ID? And then it says, okay, what to do, what function to run when it was successful, and what function to run when there was an error. And that's everything there is to this. And the cool thing, like I said, about this is once everything is working or is communicating here with events, there are no error messages if an event just goes into oblivion, into nothingness, and you shout and no one is listening, pretty much like doing streams on the internet. The other thing, of course, is now that this you don't have to limit yourself to just using events for achievements or anything with Steam. For example, in my game, let's run it again so that I can show you the cool stuff that I'm super proud of. Let's run power again. So again, this main menu essentially is nothing else but an HTML file. But here on top, when I hover with my mouse up here on top, yeah, now it doesn't work when I'm zoomed in. Sorry. So, okay. You probably can see this. When I hover up here, I get those 3 icons that you have on all your Windows things, on your Windows. On your Windows, it makes sense, right? Like I said, this NW.js is a browser, but you can specify, for example, as I did here, I don't want this frame, I don't want this, where it has this title bar and the X and minimize and enlarge in something. I don't want this, but I want to handle this myself. So in this case, again, this is just a little JavaScript that's running on top of everything. So to have here my drawing, let's use maybe purple, and this thing is also here on top of everything. Are just those window events, and again they are just drawn on top of everything and usually are hidden unless you hover it with your mouse. And I just call this window buttons. Hope this still makes sense, right? And the cool thing is when I hit the X button, it opens up here this good old JavaScript alert. Lady Mr. Leaf, good old JavaScript alert boxes. Why reinvent user interfaces? It just tells you, it just prompts you, do you really want to quit the game? Because unsaved progress will be lost, and I hit cancel. If I click here, quit, the same thing happens. So what is happening now is, under the hood, this one fires an event that says just, hey, I'm an UI event, and the UI event is I want to request to close the application. When I click this button here, it fires an event, an UI event that says I want to close this application. And all my carrier medium does is to listen for UI events, for example, minimize or maximize, and then it changes the icon here and so on. So that essentially it behaves like a Windows a Windows window, for lack of a better term, a Windows frame, essentially. And what I also am, again, like I said, this is a browser that users can't mess up, essentially. So yeah, the good thing is you completely can prohibit users from right-clicking something. I mean, now here it works because this is the SDK version, but in the game you can just select something or just drag. Maybe even you can even disallow dragging pictures outside of it. So then users really couldn't tell whether this is really a website running in a browser or it's a Unity game or whatever. So, right. And the other thing, the downside, of course, to this is that you should, or you have to implement everything that you want users, the affordances that users are, used to, you have to implement them yourself. So in my case, you probably have noticed here that those buttons here up on top, again, my mouse is a bit lagging because when I zoom in, it changes where the mouse position is. Yeah, this is a little bit buggy. So you probably have noticed that the X, the close button, is not here on the furthest side, on the furthest to the right. The reason for this is because the game has, since it's a Twine game, has here these scroll bars, and I thought that players when they miss the scroll bar, the worst thing that could happen is that they hit the X file, the X icon, and that would just close the game. I mean, this was before I had this little prompt up there, so now this can't happen, but I thought I'd just keep it in there so that, again, you can't accidentally close the application. So again, but now it doesn't matter if I'm in the game or in the menu. All that happens, it fires an UI event, and I have the game react to this UI event. And one thing, I also have to restart this because there currently is no way to get back to the main menu. And the other thing is when I'm hovering over here, and I can, if I hold down Control and use the mouse wheel and scroll up and down, I can also change or middle click. I can reset. Again, it's like in a browser where you can also zoom in and out. But again, in this one here, if you don't explicitly allow this, it doesn't work. Talking of things that doesn't work, you probably noticed that my mouse pointer was a bit lagging and there's something wrong going. Yeah, there is something drawing a lot of resources, and I'm afraid it is this constant refreshing of the canvas. Right, so if I'm here again, I can zoom in and zoom out, and when I middle click, it resets. So this is just something that I'm very happy with, to have all these affordances. So if I want to maximize the window or restore it, minimize the window or close it, those are all just UI events. Let me quickly show you how this works. So here is a UI request. I just install an event listener that says UI event, and then whenever an UI event fires, it goes to the handle UI event. So the event essentially is just a request. It's a string. I'm using string comparisons, and the request could be close, minimize, toggle screen, zoom in, zoom out, zoom reset. And then I just make a switch on the case. So if I want to close, then I open this confirm dialog. Do you really want to quit? And if it's yes, I just say here NW app quit. So you're probably wondering what this NW is, and it's the reference to this browser essentially that is running in it's this Node web view, the NW.js. So where does this happen? And the first reference, I think it's by default anything that you don't have to say variable NW equals require NW, because this is already there in place. So if, for example, if I want here, the problem that I'm having is here, I need to force a redraw as soon as the window is there, because otherwise, yeah, the main menu elements aren't aligned correctly, because this is running in an iframe and so on. So all I have to do is I need to get the current window, because there could be multiple windows. I just say, yeah, the current one, and I resize it by -1, and then resize it instantly back, and we're good. So it's really this easy to get or to interact with this virtual. It's not a virtual browser, it's an actual browser engine. So if I want to, in this case, reset the zoom level, I just say NW, hey, the current window, I want to get the window, and say zoom level is 0. And it's as simple as that. And the same thing goes here for toggling the screen. I just say, yeah, is it currently full screen? If it is, I just change the icon, and then I say, yeah, with the current window, hey, leave full screen. Otherwise, enter full screen, and then we're done. And that's, again, it's super simple. And here on mouse down, this is just for debugging, that it prints out the current time of day. Right. So again, this is how I'm handling this interaction with of web pages with the Steam backend. And the cool thing, like I said, about this is, because this is a Cara medium, the green, the entry HTML, this page doesn't change, only what it displays, completely filling everything in the iframe. Again, via events, I can also communicate down the chain to the iframe. So if I want something that the game, if I want to communicate something to the iframe, I can do this, but still keep essentially an invisible page always in the background open. Right, but the cool thing about this is that everything can call the same events, everything can expect that there is still Steam in the background running. I don't have to check it. And essentially my main menu is just a set of HTML files. So the main menu is an HTML file. When I go to settings, I haven't implemented this, but this is a new HTML file where you can have all the settings. What do the settings do? Well, they just interact with the browser as we had it before, with zoom in and zoom out, and maybe set some flags. And for example, let's be a bit more specific. In the settings, I want to say music off, for example. So I just say, yeah, hey, I'm just an HTML page. I don't care what is going on, but when the user takes music off, I just say, hey, there's an options event. Hey, entry HTML, there's an options event that the music is off, whatever this means. The entry says, yeah, of course, I know what this means. I will store it now that the music should be off. And in my Twine game, I can say, hey, if I manage to read from my parent that there is a variable that is called music, and if it's on, then I switch the music on, and if it's false, I switch the music off. But if I can't read it, which is always important, like I said, I want my Twine game to be as standalone as possible. If I can't read it, I just don't do anything. I use the default value. So this is essentially how my philosophy is of things. I think I've repeated myself multiple times, but I really hope that this architecture of running things made sense. What did I miss in the chat. Thankfully, not a lot this time. And Siap guy, I completely missed that you subscribed, which again is so close to my heart. So thank you so much to everyone who decided to subscribe to my weird ramblings. I really do appreciate it. So thank you. I raise my glass as always in the honor of the person who just subscribed. And this was just 20 minutes. Oh yeah, 20 minutes ago by Ziapi guy. So thank you so much. And Drink ASAP is here, and I just did. I just drank. Okay, one cool thing that I want to show you is that we still have some time today, because this I thought I would take much longer to explain this, and even despite being scatterbrained, I managed to get everything in there. So welcome to part 2 to this, and this is part 2 is about build scripts. So you know what? Maybe I save this thing here. I just call it. On my desktop, I just call it architecture.png, and will be utterly confused in 2 weeks what the hell this is meant to be. Okay, so let's make a new title card, and let's make this dark blue, not you, dark blue. There we go, and then bright gray, and just say build scripts. Make this super huge. This is not super huge. This is super huge. So that we have something here visually that what the hell am I talking about. Okay, so most of you are programmers and already know what build scripts are. But again, for the uninitiated or for everyone starting out, what the hell are build scripts and why should I use it, or what it is, and so on and so forth. Okay, build scripts is if you're finished programming your game in your favorite programming language, you probably hit F5 or something to test it, right? But this essentially means building, it means linking, compiling if it's a compiled language and so on. But even with JavaScript, as you've seen, you maybe want to copy everything into a certain folder and then do some things there, maybe delete all log files, prepare it for the upload to Steam, upload it to Steam, but only for PC users or something. And if you do this manually, usually it involves a command line. It takes quite a long time, because the problem is you do this every time you want to test maybe a certain build or something. So this is why you use build scripts, which just automate the process of this pipeline that you have. Because as I've noticed with pretty much all of my games, every game is a very special and very unique in a way what needs to be done. For example, for Finesweeper, I have a tool that takes out all the comments lines in my JSON files, because 6 years ago, I parsed JSON, I think, manually, and also for my translators who were doing the localization, I had a lot of comments in the JSON files. But as soon as you have a / as a comment file, as an inline comment, it wouldn't work. So in my build script, I had to automatically take out these lines before it would upload it to Steam, so that it would save a bit of upload memory, even if it's just a couple of kilobytes, and also make everything neat and tidy and conforming, for example. So this could be a build script. What do I use and what I recommend? I think there's this thing called GURPS. Is it GURPS? Please let me know in the chat. events everywhere, says Cursey Boo. I think this is a suite where you can very easily create different build scripts, because there are complexities involved that you probably want to address early. For example, as we've had it with this game here, as I've told you where to download the NW.js package, there it asks you, do you want the Linux version? Do you want the 64-bit Windows version? Do you want the 32-bit version? But then, of course, if you want the 64-bit, also Greenworks has to be 64-bit, and the Steam API needs to be 64-bit Windows, and so on. So if you want to build maybe with one thing you're done and you want to build a 64-bit version and a 32-bit version. If you do this manually, it means, yeah, I copy this one and from that folder, and then of course I have to everything also in the other folder and move things around and then be super thorough. And especially if you're doing things often and when you're programming and your mind is occupied with things that are completely unrelated to building something and you really want to just test something, you make mistakes and you mess up things. And so this is why you want to have a script that you just hit enter, it does everything it needs to be doing, and then it's done and you can test things, right? And again, I think I really have to research now. GURPS builds. I think most overpowered thing you can build GURPS challenge. Most OP things in GURPS. Yeah, I've only heard of this, so this is why I can't recommend it or anything, but I just want to give you options because I think GURPS is probably better than what I'm running. And what am I running? You probably ask, and I hear you. I'm running good old Windows batch files. Good old Windows batch files, again, if you haven't had to deal with them, they can be quite powerful in a sense. Most people use PowerShell now. I don't like PowerShell, it feels overpowered for my purposes. So this is why I use the good old batch files, and I can show you how my build script currently looks like. Please don't yawn, Automated Unicorn. This is super interesting stuff. So for my PowerMT game, let me just show you how I've set up my working folder currently. So as we've seen, I've downloaded here in this test folder. What we've did today was I've downloaded this NW.js, the SDK, and pretty much copied everything in there and developed inside of this NW SDK 64-bit. The problem with this is, of course, if you want to have a 32-bit version, you have to copy over everything and keep everything in sync and so on and so forth. So I decided not to do this and instead just have, if you recall, we created this assets folder where all our game assets live. And essentially I have here in my build sources, this assets folder is here in my build sources. So it's the title screen, the entry point, the credits, the game itself, and then it got here fonts, images, all the images that the game uses. Currently it's just the icon and the title and so on. But everything is living in there apart from the actual NW.js. And Crazy Boo says, batch files, what's not to like? Oh, thank you so much. So, and now let's have a look at my 13 kilobyte big build with NJ.ws file. I don't want to walk you through line by line, but just to give you an understanding what's happening here. So first I set my tools. So you can set a variable. The one thing that I've learned is you shouldn't have spaces between your assignment, between the equal sign. This is, for example, the Steam SDK variable. You use in batch files, just a very quick primer. If you want to use variables, you put them between two percentage signs. So now it inserts this now time here. So again, what I'm doing here is first I set my tools. This is just the path to my Steam SDK. Again, it's the 142 in this case. I don't know why I didn't use the 44. I think, was it still supported? I don't know. But the cool thing about this is if I want to use a different SDK, if I put them all in the same folder, I just change it here to 140 and it sorts itself out because it knows, okay, this is the base of the current SDK that's supported that I'm using. So again, I only have to set it once. Fart is a wonderful command line tool, which is just, it's short for find and replace text. So this is just to replace certain strings because we will see that I used certain strings that I'm going to replace when I'm building things. szip is 7-zip. It's just to build a zip file if I want to build a zip file of all my resources. reshack is the resource hacker. This I use to exchange the icon for my own icon, because if you recall, what we had here on our test thing is no matter how you name it, it still has this NW.js icon, and I don't want this. Again, this is just it's just something that I like better if it has a nice icon. And finally, I have this little program that I coded myself. It's just 3 lines of pure basic. The language is called pure basic. It's not just pure basic, but it could be. It's now time. The problem was that whenever I wanted to get the current time as a string from through a Windows batch file, it was just like this huge command, and it was super weird. And now this one just returns a string, and the string is the current time. And this I just need for build folders. Okay, so the one thing that is important, it says here, important folder path must not have a comma because it will break fart's wildcard selection. Again, my advice or my strategy when writing comments is I tell, okay, what the following block should be doing, or I tell when there are things you really should look out for, or when you look at it and think, that's weird, why am I doing this? This is super cumbersome. And then there's this comment that says, I know this is cumbersome, this and this is the reason why it has to be exactly this way, please don't change this. Right. So again, those here, essentially I'm just changing this block here. So if we look at the entirety of this build script, it's quite long, but all I need to care about is, okay, those are my tools, and those are the values that I can set. Well, maybe those values as well. So again, I just say here, okay, this is the source path. Again, this is, like I said, everything that goes into this assets directory, right? And I just say where it is, it's in my Dropbox, just have to set this once, and then I can use it as a path. The next thing is, okay, what is your main game called? It's called PowerMT.html. I just have to make sure that an HTML file of that name is sitting in there. And I already got a Steam app ID. This is also helpful when I want to automatically upload it to Steam or create the Steam app ID text file, so that I just put this in there once and usually don't have to touch it. Then of course where to put the generated folder, and I have here a builds folder, and this is why I need the now time. It just creates a new folder there with the current time, or it puts it into a different, when I'm uploading it to Steam, it puts it in a different directory. So package info, again, if you recall, we had to create this package info. Let me quickly jog your memory for those who have forgotten, or those who, and I don't blame you, I lost a bit track. That is this package definition where it just says, okay, this is the main file, the name of the game or the name of the app, and you got some additional arguments. I'm creating this one on the fly through my good old batch file. If I can find it again. So all it does is it uses those variables to build this file. So in there I have the name of the game, the version string, where to find the assets, because then it will create the relative file path to the main file. The main file in this case is entry.html. Here is even the path to the icon, and the app icon is relative to the assets path. Again, I've noted this down here. And here, even for localization of assets, is, for example, if you develop something in Twine, let me show you. For example, this game here, and you want to use an image. In this case, this PowerMT image. When I say open in new folder, you can see here, actually it's a file that is on my Dropbox. So this is super local. When I'm developing it, of course, I want to have not a relative, a fixed and absolute path to all the images that I want, that I can look where things are located and so on, and space text accordingly and so on and so forth. But of course, when I'm building this now and uploading it on Steam, people probably don't have a C uses fill app data local temp and so on and so forth location. Well, in this case, this is just a temp file when I'm running this Twine game. So essentially, this is where the actual image lives. So what this where is my mouse pointer? What this says, strip asset path, just means, okay, I'm going to remove from the resulting HTML file just where this entire string here, wherever it occurs. So essentially, this just leaves the relative path, and the relative path connects here from assets. Let me click here in PowerMT just to images. So everything from it throws out Dropbox, fill, users, current projects. It throws everything away. Just what remains is images slash and then the file name. So this again is something to save me lots of headaches, so that I only have to specify the path once and then take it out when I'm building it for Steam for distribution. Then I got myself some options. So I have different kinds of build. So 1 means a dev build and 10 means a release build. So because with what's super powerful with DOS, or in this case Windows batch files, is that you can import that you can have some sort of branching depending on the state of certain variables. So if I just specify here, yeah, this is a development build, then it runs it branches in different sections, and for example it puts the output in a different folder, or it uses the SDK build and not the normal build, and so on and so forth. And all I have to do is change it here from 1 to 10. Then the action, I want to test it only. I want to package the plain files, or I want to package a zip file, which doesn't work correctly with Greenworks, and I haven't looked into this. So currently this is why it's action 2. And here we have the target platform. This is what I told you before, that it's a hassle if you have just Windows 64-bit and 32-bit, because the Steam API, everything has to be copied over in the correct folders. And this I don't have to worry about. I just do it here in my build script. And from there on, this is tested, this works. And here is just this one thing that is called is Steam. So if Steam is active, it's 1, and if not, it's 0. And if it's 0, this is why I have this text, this file find and replace text tool here. Because if I'm using Steam, then in my in my entry game here, let me scroll all the way to the top. Yeah, I have here wildcards, which just says $3 signs, because I love me money apparently. So I call this macro, or macros, right? So here is Steam $, which will, when this is a Steam version, it will be replaced with whatever I have here in my build script for is Steam. I will show you how this works in a couple of lines, but essentially this is the idea. So here I got the paths to the different tools. So NW.js for Windows 64, NW.js SDK for Windows 64, Steam API for Windows 64, and the Greenworks for Windows x64, and same thing for 32 bits. So all I have to do is, once I've set here the correct version, I just have to change this here, and then when I say I want to build for this other platform, I don't have to worry about anything. The build script does it for me. So, right. And first time chat from CA Frexis says, want to become famous. Thank you for noticing. Yes, I already am. I got 9 viewers who are still with me, and really it's quite something to follow me through this clusterfudge of build script. I will go over things much faster now, so no worries. Okay, so here I'm branching for the first time. So if build kind equals to 1, then I say, yeah, I want to use the SDK. Otherwise, I said use SDK to 0. Again, those are just variables. So then the out folder name, where do I want to put this? So if Steam is 0, I go to build unique folders. And if Steam is 1, I go to build folders. You can probably see there, I'm using go-tos, and people have said, I think it was even said that using go-tos is a retardation of the mind. I've heard someone say in the late 70s. And I think, or people who start out with basic can't become good programmers anymore, because their brains are already messed up with all those spaghetti code. Good old, I'm not talking about PowerShell scripts, but just shell scripts. Unicorn, thank you so much for redeeming Unicorn, which means I have to have a sip of water. DOS batches, those I use a lot of go-to statements, and I'm super careful with them. So to me, I'm using go-tos in a sense more like switch statements, but I don't have a switch statement. This is why I use go-tos. So again, if is Steam, then I go to build unique folders, which goes here, and when I'm done, it says done without folder. When I say is Steam is 1, I go to build Steam folders, which runs this one, and Steam dev folder, and once it's done, it goes to done without folder. So again, essentially just a switch realized with gotos. And again, I'm super careful with this, and those are very well tested that I just don't mess up myself. And again, if it's a release build, then I say use the release folder, otherwise use the dev folder, and so on and so forth. And here, if I set one as target platform, then the architecture is Windows 64, and otherwise it's Windows x86. Cursiboo says, I heard the go in the statement was considered harmful. The go-to statement was considered harmful. Yeah, I've heard this too, but and I think it could be harmful, especially if you just use it willy-nilly and just jump around, and then at the end of the day you don't know where you're jumping around. For me, like I said, I'm trying to implement this as clearly as possible, where it never jumps further than one page in my text editor, because I don't want this to become spaghetti code. So like I said, the super cool thing about Notepad++ is if you double click something, it highlights automatically where something goes, and this, or where something occurs, and this helps me quite a lot with keeping my go-tos clean. So first I set the output folder name depending on my settings. Then I set the out target shorthand. This is because I'm using a lot out path and out folder, and out path, out folder assets there, so I'm just using shorter variable names. Here I'm setting up paths depending on the architecture. So if the architecture is x64, then I'm using the 64 version, otherwise the 86 version. Same thing goes for the Steam SDK, and same thing goes for the Greenworks version. Again, I don't have to do this manually. Essentially it just copies over the entire source folder into either the 64-bit, the 32-bit, and then does something with it, copies it to the output folder, and everything else is left alone. And thanks also, Ender, for feeding the automated unicorn. Then there is this manifest. This is this package JSON file, which I just create on my project source root. But essentially, I'm building now a text file from this batch file. Because, again, this is also heavily dependent on the variables that I set. So again, I'm creating this package file. It says name is the app name. What is the app name? Let's scroll up. Well, there we go. The app name is PowerMT, the version string, the assets directory, and so on and so forth. But again, I also have here some sort of branching. So if action equals 3, what is action 3? This means it's a zip file and lives in a zip file and not in the apps, in the assets subdirectory. So this means I need to, for example, have the path differently. It's not as deep into the assets directory and so on. So again, this is something that's super tested, actually, and also where the icon is, because the paths change it a little bit if you want to do a zip file, but the zip file doesn't work. So this is just, yeah, something. But again, I can change here the manifest file just using this file. So I'm just setting up here with how the window should start. Then again, if the target platform is 1, go to manifest Windows. This is, I thought for Linux and Mac I can use jump to different points, but I'm not doing this currently. So here for Windows, then I add, if you recall those Chromium arguments, that in process GPU, disable transparency and disable RAF throttling. This all goes in there just so that the Steam overlay actually shows. Then the manifest dependencies, this is just, yeah, I don't use. I thought I need to specify the dependencies for Pretty Bytes and Steam API, which I'm not using anyway, so I'm just skipping over this. And finally, I go to copy stuff. So I'm copying the manifest over there. I'm renaming the manifest to manifest JSON, and I'm moving the manifest. So I'm copying it. So if it already exists, the manifest, then I delete it and I copy it over. Then I copy all the assets that I have over. I check if there already is a folder called assets. If so, then I remove the folder, and then I just copy everything in there. And then we will look, okay, so if I'm going to test, then I just replace the tokens. As we've seen here, I replace $main file with the actual path to main file. So if we look at, this is not main in this entry, so that whenever I'm using app name, it's not $app name but the actual app name, and this for all the HTML files. So this is super helpful if I want to change the app name at the point. I don't have to go into like hundreds, well, it's not that bad, but maybe dozens of HTML files and do this manually, or just run a search and replace through everything and hope that nothing breaks. And so on and so forth. So this is why I use this $ signs as my essentially macros, right? So I will just exchange those tokens and then run NW. This is just for testing. The next one is I'm packaging, and this is what we've done now. So everything is in plain. It's not zipped or anything. It's just the plain folder structure there. So for that, I create a new output folder, delete anything that might be already existing in this output folder. Then copy everything over to this output folder, and then I look, okay, is this Steam? And if it yes is Steam, then I look, okay, is it Steam 64 or Steam 86? And depending on whether it is, it copies the correct Steam API DLL, because they are not super straightforwardly. So you can't exchange just one file. You have to actually copy the files individually. And this, again, what we did before manually, this is just here happening automatically. And then it creates even this Steam app ID, also text file, and then it jumps to after Steam. So finally here we are also again at token replace. It replaces the main file with the actual name of the main file, app name with the actual name of the app name, and it exchanges here is Steam with either 1 or 0. And then, because when something is either 1 or 0, let's have a look at macro is Steam. So if 1, then this block runs, and if 0, then this block does not run, because it's truthiness or falsiness. I think this is truth-like or false-like or something. So if it's 0, it doesn't run. If it's 1, it runs. Right, so replace token for all HTML files or just for the main file. Currently I replace token for all HTML files. Then I localize the asset paths, and again this is I just remove the everything that says something is in my Dropbox at f:/fill projects Dropbox. Again, this is just something that I remove entirely recursively in all the files, because at the end of the day the Twine file is just an HTML file with JavaScript in it. Then you remember that I said I really don't like the icon at the end, and I really would rather have my nice little icon. Where do I have it? Here again. No, this was the Steam SDK. Here in my test folder it was. So I can rename it, but then it still has the icon that is clearly identifying it as an NW.js file. So I want to do something about this, and I call this hack icon. And for those who don't know, there is this beautiful file called this tool called Resource Hacker. Let me quickly show you Resource Hacker by Angus Johnson. And this is a super nifty tool where you can, as you can see here, you can change even dialog boxes and change some sort of the build specification. Pretty much anything in the exe file that you can change, it makes it possible. For example, you can here change icons and so on. So let me quickly show you what is happening in Resource Hacker, if I can find it again. Bird of my Resource Hacker. I have it installed here. The cool thing about Resource Hacker is you can write scripts and have Resource Hacker run these scripts. For example, it says open this file, delete the entire icon tree, and add a new asset which is called main icon. And what is going on here is my batch file is creating this Resource Hacker script file, which just says, yeah, the exe file is this nw.exe file, and we want to save it, please, as the out.exe name, which is just the name of the game.exe. And the commands are, please delete the icon group with these icons, because those are the 3 icons. These are the names in the icon group of the nw.js exe file. And then once you're done, please add the icon to the output file. So again, we just start Resource Hacker with these command line statements where it just says, yeah, here is the path to the icon, and please put it here on the icon group and IDR mainframe. And this is, again, automatically it exchanges the icon. And finally, it deletes the Resource Hacker script because, again, it just needs to run once. Finally, if we want to create a zip, it just zips everything and changes a bit of the path files. And here, finishing touches is it opens, once it's done compiling, it opens up an Explorer where it just shows me, okay, this is the resulting folder where everything should be in there. And it runs automatically the generated exe file, and then it's done. And when it's done, it cleans the source folder of all the assets and the package JSON so that everything is clean again if I want to run it again. So, and in motion, after all this long talk, let me find the right window again where I have my build script. So yeah, this is my project directory. Like I said, here in build sources, everything that just goes into the assets folder, everything that is not vanilla NW.js. Essentially, it's my game in there, in those build sources. So the builds go into builds, and if it's a Steam dev release, it should go into this folder here. Just make it the icons a bit smaller. So when I'm going to test my game, I just run this batch file that I just shown you, and it looks like this. It copies everything over. It's probably a bit slow because I need to disable syncing in my Dropbox. And it runs the generated exe file, and there we are. And I think I've even implemented the credits file. Yes. Credits already work. It's super choppy now, probably because I'm recording this. It runs much more smoothly, and also the mouse pointer is not stuck. But again, I think this is because I have so many overlays like this zooming in thing here running. But again, yeah, this is how I can test things very, very quickly. And of course, like I said, this entire thing is using or distributing your source files. So if I want to test something non-destructively, I just stay in this build output folder and I don't go to my build sources folder. So in my build output folder, again, I can go completely bonkers, try things out, because I know that the next time I'm just overwriting it. Essentially, it's like in Unity when you are you're running your game and you're changing things in the inspector, and then it's completely fine. Whatever you do, you can just hit stop and everything is reset to normal. Most of the time you think, oh shit, this was still running in play mode and I forgot to copy all the settings to the actual inspector because I want to have this. So yeah. Well played, says Cursey. Thank you so much for still sticking with me for this entire thing here. Like I said, it just took me 2 weeks or so, I think, in total, just researching and just trying things out. And you know me, most of the time was spent, well, not most of the time, but a lot of the time was spent with drawing this little icon and animating this background here, which I'm, again, kind of proud of. And making the transitions, like I said, when I hit credits or something, then it fades out, the credits fade in. And again, it's essentially what's happening is it just loading a different HTML file in this iframe. Please give me back my mouse pointer. There we go. Main menu. And essentially, yeah, this is my current state of the game. So I want, probably you think to yourself, why the hell are you starting with a main menu when you don't have an actual game yet? But for myself, I want to have this surrounding package essentially packaged up super nicely, so that I can just focus on getting the Twine game good. And I know that, yeah, everything else works, the settings work, the achievements work, logging works, everything, the entire package. I mean, as you've seen, when I can even upload this to Steam. For example, I have a build script also to upload something to Steam. I can't show you this build script because my password is in there in plain text. But you know what? I can upload this to Steam now, and it just says here, yeah, now it's updating the uploader itself. But again, it's just one click, and then I can do this entire Steam packaging, because packaging something for Steam is a bit different. And you know what? I think we still got some time. Are you interested in some of the Steam gotchas in how to build your package or depot as it is? Because now here, once my script is done, it opens up here my Steam pipe, and then I can say, yeah, this latest upload is now my current test branch, and I can set it live now. Andrew says, yes, please. Alrighty then. Again, I don't know how far I'm leaning myself out of the window, as we say here, when I'm really testing how much I can show of the actual Steamworks background, but I think I can get away with it. So essentially, what is important to know is if you want to upload something to Steam, Steam has something that is called depots and packages. And if you're a Steam developer, there are many very cool YouTube videos. They are unlisted because, yeah, they don't want you or want everyone to know how their system works. But essentially, there you have to tell Steam you can package your app in you know what, just that I don't say anything wrong. What's the difference between packages and depots? Associated packages, right? Okay, so a package is something like your game in English, or your game for the German version, or 64-bit Linux version, right? This is a package. And you can have a variety of little depots that are just a subset of your files. For example, you can say, if you have your main app and you have a depot for, yeah, those are all the files, and those are, yeah, all the game files, and there are all the voice samples, for example. But if you build your game for German, you want to say, yeah, of course, the files are still the same. The entire game is still the same. I only want to have the localization for German text and audio differently. So for that, you have, for example, you could have two depots. The one depot just says, here are all the game assets, and the other depot say, okay, this is the depot for the English version, this is the depot for the German version. And then you say, yeah, I want the depot for the main files, those for everything, and then English, and then German. And this depot, you have certain build scripts from. You have to have certain build scripts to tell where something belongs to. For example, this is what one of these VDF files as Steam uses looks like. So I'm saying this is an app build. This is the ID of my app. This is the description, and this is where to find everything. This is the content root currently. The output root. This is also where to the output folder for the build logs. So this is also something that is very cool. When you upload something to Steam via this Steam pipe, it only uploads, it looks what has changed. So if you have your game that for example, exists of 20 gigabytes of textures, but then you just change one ini file or something and then make a new upload, you don't have to upload those 20 gigabytes, just this one actual change, right? So, are you talking about releasing games in Steam, says F Topku92. Yeah, not, well, kinda. Essentially, I started this stream with how to get HTML5 games onto Steam. And right now, I'm talking a bit about the actual nuts and bolts of what the philosophies behind getting Steam packages and Steam depots up. So yes, I'm kinda am. Just be careful not to show any private NDA account. Exactly, yeah, I don't think those are account related. Maybe the depot IDs, but I think Steam Spy or some other pages can look at the depot IDs and numbers and the strings. For example, that this is currently called PowerMT. Right, so this, you say this is an app build, and then you have depots, and in these depots, the app is made up of different depots. For example, I only have one depot currently because everything is in there. So, for example, if I say here this depot build, I'm not using this, but you can say here if it's not that complicated, you can have it here in app build and just one depot. But you can say I have an app build and the depots are in individual files, and for those you can say here audio files. Just for the German version, I want to rename the local path is here, but in the end, it just should go in the source in the root folder /audio and so on and so forth. So the documentation on Steam is quite extensive. But for me now, I have an app ID and I have a depot ID. And my depot is just all the files that are there. So the local path is just the content root. The depot path where it puts everything is also just wherever it is, and it's recursive. Yes, please include all subfolders. And if do I want to exclude some files, this is super helpful because, like I said, the Steam app ID is only used locally when you're doing testing. Many games forget this. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have your Steam ID as a text file, but sometimes it looks to me like someone forgot to not to upload their Steam app ID file. Right, so essentially all you do is you say to the Steam pipe, let me, you know what, I will quickly see, because I want to show you what actually is happening, but I will take out now my my password, or obfuscate my password. So yeah, okay, now this should work. So this is this build to Steam. So again, I'm just saying which Steam SDK version. Again, this is just for me. So essentially, you load the builder. And the builder is just under the Steam SDK tools, content builder, Steam command.exe, right? And you just say, okay, please builder, this is my login name, this is my login password, run the app build, and this is the script for which to run the app build. And once you're done, quit. And here again, I just open up my Steam pipe when I'm ready. And the Steam pipe is essentially, this is the Steam backend. So once I've uploaded something, where am I? App admin. There we go. Steamworks admin. Once you are there, here under Steam pipe, you have your builds and depots. The depots, again, are something for certain languages, for example, where you can specify certain base languages and so on. But the important thing is whenever you upload something with this content builder, it appears here on the top as the latest build version. And you have to have different branches because, for example, you want a default branch that is the public branch. When you release a game, when you push your updates, those go into the default branch. You can have as many branches as you want. You can have a beta branch. You can have a branch for close friends. You can have an internal testing branch. And whenever you upload something, it shows up here as a new build, and then you can select to which branch you want to push this. So of course, when you upload an update for your game or a patch, first you only want, in my case, it's just called test. I will change, of course, the password now when I'm done with this stream. But for this one, so this I can just say, I can enter this password and then I'm unlocked to test my own game, for example. So then only those people who know this password, have it entered in Steam, can access this version. And then whenever something is new, I just Steam updated my own game now that I updated my branch with this build. So I hope this makes sense. If a Topco says, okay, thank you for your explanation. Yeah, you're very welcome. I hope this makes sense. So, and one other gotcha is you've probably had this with other Steam games, especially some indie games or even bigger games, where it says you want to run a game and it says app not properly configured, and you thought, how do I do this? What is the problem that I'm having? And if you Google this, there are many workarounds from people who try to make sense of this error message. And what it means is you haven't specified an exe file so that Steam knows which file of your package to run, because you can have different files for different purposes. For example, you can even say, I want users to allow benchmarking mode and start the game in benchmarking mode, for example. And you do this here by installation and general installation, because by default here under launch options, there is nothing there. And this is the big gotcha, because you have to add a launch option where just say, okay, what is the name when I say add new launch option? What is the name of your executable, for example, game.exe, and what type is the launch type? For example, your game can support different command line options where you can launch it with different languages and so on and so forth. And this is what you set here. So if you don't have a launch option set, then your game won't launch. And I've seen this with some indie launches where they were just scrambling. What the hell is going wrong? Especially if it's your first time launching something on Steam. So yeah, this is probably the most important thing is here under installation, general installation, set a launch option. I mean, usually, like I said, I can delete this now. Usually you don't have any command line arguments for your game, but still you have to define what the exe file is. And one last thing, of course, is this app has unpublished changes. You need to head over, whenever you make a change there, you head over to go to publish, prepare for publishing, publish to Steam. Please select the code Steamworks or enter the code of Steamworks here, and you can set internal change notes. I just say here stream, maybe without a typo, and say really publish, and then if you've updated something, then it's published to all your clients within the next hour or so. Essentially, in a nutshell, this is how the back end of Steam works. And again, I hope I didn't show something too much that violates my NDA, so I'll be minimizing this now, and I hope I have answered any open questions there. Do you streaming about web development? I'm not interested in game development, but I would love to hear from you about web development. Usually not, I'm really sorry. This is just for HTML5, where I'm doing an HTML5 game in Twine. So my web development, probably I have set the wrong expectations. I just thought because this is HTML5, I will be mostly talking about HTML5 today in this stream. I thought I include web development, but if you're here for that, I'm really sorry. This is only games. This is only games. But nonetheless, I really appreciate you dropping by and being active in the chat. So I hope, even if it's not what you're looking for, this was somehow interesting, or at least I didn't waste your time with it. Right. Okay. So one thing, right? I promised to export my context highlighting here from Notepad++. By the way, of course, for those who don't know, VS Code, you don't even have to have the portable version. It runs in the browser. So for those who don't know and love their VS Code, which I do, thank you. A shout out to Lady Mistleaf, who is probably watching this on VOD someday or not, who really pushed me towards or got my curiosity piqued for VS Code. Again, for those who don't know what am I talking about, it's the Visual Studio Code Editor. It's just a lightweight version of Visual Studio. By the way, this one is also, this is by my Unicorn server, the current chat server that's running. This one is also coded in Electron. So again, this is JavaScript running in a web view. Just it's not WebView, it's WebKit, it's Electron. But yeah, this I really love this text editor because it's super lightweight, and this little thumbnail here on the right, this is really what I like. I think what I like best about it. Right. Okay. Not get distracted. Export my user-defined my language highlighting. So there it must be style configurator. And somewhere there, I need to find my XML files. It's probably in the app data folder. If I can find it. This screen is a bit bigger. Ender says, yeah, thanks, this is cool. Planning to put up my Steam page before Christmas. Really minimal info around. Yeah, exactly, because everything is shrouded behind this NDA thing. And with my first Steam game, I really struggled quite a lot to understand what was going on. And I had this problem with the exe file where I thought, oh my god, I launched the game today and I really didn't do it a lot of Steam testing, just local Steam testing when I was running it out of Game Maker Studio. And of course, then I don't have to use the exe file because the Steam SDK connection was there. And then I released it and there was no exe file. And I thought, oh my god, how do I do this? And there is not much info to go around on the general web. But again, I still have to say the documentation that comes with Steam Pipe is quite extensive. It's mostly geared, especially with the implementation of the Steam API, mostly geared to C++ programmers that just use the DLL and link to it. And everyone else has to use some sort of, like I said, this Greenworks tool is a godsend if you're doing HTML stuff, because it's open source, which is super cool. Yeah, it's quite a lot to digest when you're on Steam the first time, because it's super complicated. I mean, well, not complicated, it's super complex. There is a lot there, and you can really see that how Steam grew over like 20 years almost, because there is, with what I haven't shown you is, of course, your entire shop presence page, all the graphical assets. You need a capsule image, an image for different resolutions, a vertical one, a special set of resolutions, just the logo, then shop description in different languages, what type of inputs do you support. Then it goes on to trading cards, a different localization for your trading cards. What icons? You need to have a certain set of unlockables if you do trading cards, like background images or little icons. For each icon, you need to supply different sizes. And you realize it's not something that you can just throw together in a day or two. It really needs some planning to get all these assets ready for Steam, that they are happy. But the good thing is there's now a huge checklist to get your game ready for Steam, and you can just follow along this checklist of what they want. I'm thinking also of putting up a store page for my game, but only when I have this HTML5, this package, this carrier, a medium completely finished, where I know that I can just work on the actual game in Twine and don't have to worry about all this linking to Steam and user settings and user storage and anything, where I know, okay, this just works. I could throw it out every day as it is, because I don't have to worry about something not compiling or anything. Right, okay, I got distracted again trying to export my settings from Notepad++. So again, if you like syntax highlighting like it is here, just so that you know what I'm doing is that I've started doing this dark mode syntax highlighting, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. For other languages like BASIC, yes, the good old BASIC, GML, that is the game maker language, Ink, which is a language for interactive fiction, which I urge you to check out. It's from Inkle, and they're super nice company. I love Inkle, and they have made Ink open source, which you can have it work in Unity. And then, of course, SugarCube is the markup for the SugarCube format in Twine, and Markdown pre-installed. Yeah, this I didn't do. But yeah, those languages, they are on my GitHub. You know what? This might be GitHub Pixel Prophecy. That's Pixel Prophecy. So let me paste it there. And Ender says, I'm still holding out because I'm not sure my game is well good. Yeah, with Steam, you get so much intimidated, because you think finally I've made something, and then like 2 hours later, some big indie game you've never really heard of just drops there, and they get like 3 downloads and 80% return rate, and you think, what is wrong with the world? Because now there is so much competition, and it's really hard to feel that your game is up to snuff to all the other games, because there are so many good games that completely fly under the radar, and there are also so many overhyped games. And I think, I mean, all I'm planning for is to find a very tiny niche where I just fit in with my games, and I'm not charging too much for them. I mean, of course, it's one thing if you charge $1 for your game and you've spent way too many hours on it. But at the end of the day, at least for me, the good thing is I don't have to live off what I make through my games, which is good. So it remains a hobby, and I don't feel the pressure to earn my living through it. But yeah, it would be nice if people would be willing to pay a bit more. And so as soon as I realized that I had some disposable income, I really started and buy games, and even if I don't really like them, or even if they are short Steam games, and if I paid like $2 for it for 20-minute experience, I'm not going to return them, because this is clearly shitty. If you like something and then you return it, because I mean, really, do you really need those $2 back that you've spent? Because at the end of the day, especially with the cut that Steam takes and then taxes and everything, you don't make a lot of money as an indie developer. So I don't know where I wanted to head with this, but yeah, I think making games is hard, and getting noticed on Steam is even harder. So yeah, I'm counting on 5 to 10 sales, and everything beyond this is I'm happy. It's just for me to see if I can get things out there. Right, context highlighting. This I've posted my GitHub page. Yeah, capitalism, exactly. Posted my GitHub page, and there is this Notepad++ syntax highlighting for Ink files, for GameMaker language files, for basic files, SugarCube, and this is my render setup. Oh, right, I have my render setup for GameMaker with Phong shading also there on GitHub. So if anyone is interested I've wrote an extensive README file on how this works. But yeah, maybe this is of interest to other people as well. Even got an achievement, my god. Yeah, 8 contributions in the last year, and those were syntax highlighting. Right, finally to finish with those syntax highlighting things. I'm really sorry. I just have to find, where is it, my app data, local Notepad++ probably. No, it's not there. Maybe it's under roaming Notepad++. Yes, there we are. Themes, fill style 2015. There we go. Where can I put this for everyone to find? Is Pastebin a thing? I think I just moved my themes and I forgot where to drop them, or I forgot where I put them. So I just, can I undo? Yes, okay. You know what? I will try this Pastebin thing. Pastebin, the paste tool since 2000. And, yeah, we value your privacy. Off, and I agree to nothing. Legitimate interest. There is nothing legitimate about your interest. I'm really sorry. And everything is shitting full with, oh my god, so many ads. Yeah, I understand. Okay, so this is my Notepad++ style. Syntax highlighting is probably XML. Paste expiration, never. And password, paste title name, Notepad++ dark markup by Phil, or dark styles by Phil. Create new paste. Please wait. Yeah. Oh dear. This is so. I feel so dirty using using a Pastebin, but I think it's the easiest to share. There we go. Nopete++. Oh yeah. This is. You know what? I will stay with Notepad. Notepad++. So does this work? It doesn't show up for some reason in the chat description, or not in the chat description, in the recording underneath, because it does show up in the chat, the link. So it's Pastebin / this string here. And this is a small case F before the D and Y. So if you're interested in my Notepad or Nope AD++ dark styles, you can get them here. And I'm really sorry if you need to take a soapy bath after just interacting with Pastebin for more than 1 second. And the other code highlighting for, like I said, basic, SugarCube, and so on and so forth, you can find there on my GitHub. And there even is my GameMaker language starfield generator, for what it's worth. Wonderful. Yes, and finally, of course, super important, again, the NW.js documentation, where you can find everything of how to work with this browser that runs your game, essentially. Cool. Wow. Put this there under docs. I'm quite happy that I actually managed to get everything in there in just as little as 3 hours or something. I think it's been almost 3 hours. I think it's been a while since I've streamed for this long, but I'm still super grateful that still 13 viewers are here. I really do appreciate your viewing and putting up with my scatterbrainedness. So let's bring this to a close because I need to catch some sleep and I still got some coffee. So let's finish your coffee and go to sleep. What could go wrong? All right. So some minor details about what's going on with my Ludum Dare postmortems. For those who know, I make my postmortems, videos, documentation, devlogs of my Ludum Dare Game Jam experiences. And there are currently 3, well actually it's 4 in production right now. And hey, we have lockdown here starting tomorrow, so I probably get some more work done on this. And for the next weeks for streaming, I think I want to continue with just developing my Twine game. So I look forward to maybe HTML5, maybe Twine, maybe debugging, or maybe just drawing some still images, because I probably didn't talk about what game actually I want to put on Steam, right? It's just called Power MT, and yeah, this was a Ludum Dare game from a couple of years back. It was a interactive fiction, relatively short, and I already have collected many ideas on how to expand this and yeah, just make it more of a game so that I can actually charge money for it, essentially, that I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of people. So yeah, I want to make it more of an experience, more of a game, just more polished, and add some more illustrations. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be a text game, but there will be a bespoke music, sound effects, atmosphere, and of course some sort of illustrations. Because I think, yeah, it could really benefit from that. And yeah, of course, with like I said, with my postmortems, there is also going to be some progress. Essentially, it's just I have so many, as we say, pieces of iron in the forge that I'm constantly just hammering away one after the other. So whatever strikes my fancy, there is still so much to do for me. So I probably have something before Christmas out, I hope. I'm very much looking forward to that. All right, so the automated unicorn looks around awkwardly because it knows that I have a super hard time finishing things. So yeah, with that, have a wonderful week. Stay safe, everyone, and I hope I see you next week on the next stream. And again, I really appreciate everyone watching this 2 hours and 50 long massive stream, or VOD when it's up on good old YouTube. With that being said, fill out, have a great week.